Good morning. I had the opportunity to interview director Jake Schreier about Susan Sarandon's motion picture called Robert and Frank at the Traverse City Film Festival on August 1st, 2012. And Jake was very interesting in his interview. Pleasure, Jake, to meet a new film director. It's not an easy journey to make, is
it certainly isn't. But I've been a pretty lucky one as far as I go. So.
Why don't we start with explaining, describe Robert and Frank.
Sure. So Robot and Frank is a movie about Frank, who is a retired ex-jewel thief, who was once one of the premier jewel thieves in the country. He had a family. He didn't take very good care of his kids or his family relationships, and now he lives in a kind of rural town and is not taking very good care of himself. His memory's starting to go, and his son does what any good son does in the near future. He gets him a caretaker robot. And at first Frank hates the robot. It makes him eat healthy and clean up and exercise and all these things. But the main objective of the robot is to find an activity that will keep Frank active and engaged in his life.
What year does this take place?
This is the near future.
They don't specify.
They don't specify, no. And of course the only thing that Frank has ever been active and engaged in is robbery. The robot sees no problem with this as long as that's safe enough and it keeps Frank healthy and engaged. So the two of them form this little heist duo in the small town. And problems ensue, of course.
So how did you get involved in this project?
So the script is written by my friend Christopher Floyd, who I've known since college, and it's actually a feature-length version of a short that he made in film school. And it was about 4 years ago, we were looking around for something to turn into a longer piece of work. We thought that would be a really cool idea to return to.
What other prior directorial films have you?
Well, it was my first movie, but I've been directing commercials for the last 7 or 8 years, and my company, Park Pictures, this is actually their first feature film as well. They just started a feature division and brought Galt Niederhofer in, who's a producer, has a great track record of getting amazing cast or first-time directors, because I certainly wouldn't know how to do it. And so the timing all just kind of worked out perfectly.
Are you free to announce what advertisements that you were part of? It might be some people's favorites.
I don't know that a lot of them before, and some of that I barely pay attention to commercials. I don't know. I've done some Verizon spots and some Reebok stuff, and I don't know. But,
Right. When was it in your life when you realized that film was a direction that you wanted to go in, and you wanted to participate as a director?
I was 16. And I had always done acting and music and different kinds of art stuff, and I wasn't very good at any of it. And then I did a summer program at NYU, actually, that high school program, and we made little silly short films. They're terrible, but it was at least the first time that what I made vaguely resembled what I had in my head before I set out to make it. So I was like, all right, I'll try this. That'll be the thing.
Do you have a mentor that you can name that was very instrumental in your development?
I think I had great teachers at NYU, and certainly my producers on this film. Galt's made a ton of movies, and also Lance Accord, who owns Park Pictures, who's a cinematographer who I've admired since before I even knew that anyone directed commercials. So they helped immensely, but also just my friends. I feel like the things that I learned the most from were just, there were a bunch of us at NYU that kind of both Chris Ford, who wrote the script, and other friends of mine there. One of whom has a film at this festival also, Ben Dickinson, has a film called First Winter here, and we were roommates in college also. Just watching movies together and talking about them, that's really what taught me the most.
Did you have any involvement in the development of the script?
I had some involvement, sure. Mostly just driving Chris crazy, bothering him about different things. But I mean, he wrote the whole
And this,
thing.
of course, is before you even had went on set to do anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it took I think the first draft itself took a year of Ford really working hard to figure out how to turn it into a longer piece.
So I mean, you weren't in the category of David O. Selznick, where every day the script was being changed from time to time.
No, I think Ford would have murdered me if I had tried to impose that kind of order on things. Yeah.
What type of acting did you do?
Oh, I mean, we're talking like high school theater, nothing real to write home to that.
Now, as you well know, cinematography is really vital for the success of the show.
Yeah.
Who's the cinematographer for your
His name is Matthew Lloyd, and he's a good friend of mine now. And he just took on the project. I mean, there's not a lot of time to shoot, and he came onto it, I think, maybe a week before we shot. I mean, the whole thing came together very last minute. Just did a great job.
When you're setting up a composite for each scene, how did you share in that process? Where does the cinematographer begin and let off, and you pick it up and then?
Well, framing's very important to me, but I don't know a thing about lighting. So I mean, look, it's not that lighting isn't important to me, but it's not something I would ever be able to tell anyone else how to do or what to go about it. And so, that's this sort of traditional division of labor. But I mean, that's not to say that Matt and I had long discussions and sometimes arguments about what the shot structure for the scene should be. And a lot of it, on a first film, when you only have 20 days, you can have an idea of what you're trying to do, but you're still gonna be at the mercy of time and the elements. You're gonna have to wing it every now and then. But we just tried to watch a lot of Gordon Willis stuff, especially Manhattan and things like that, because we felt like wider frames were just sort of the kind of visual humor and this guy and this robot in these funny situations more than any kind of individual jokes. We thought that that's where a lot of the humor in the movie would come from.
Did you ever find yourself having to reshoot an original idea?
I wish if we had had time to, we might have. But no, I think maybe
But that
one shot.
was a 20-day shoot that you did. That's just phenomenal. And I bet every aspiring filmmaker that watches this video, they're going to be asking, how did he get two Academy Award-winning actors?
That's all to my producers. That's like I said, Langella has an incredible track record. I think she's made over 20 movies now, and a lot of them with first-time filmmakers, and they always have great casts. She really knows how to. I'm just lucky.
She's the one that casted the show.
Yeah, we had no casting director.
What was your reaction when she notified you that she got Frank Langella and
mostly fear. That was because you never get them. You have to go take a meeting with them, and then Frank has to see if you're not an idiot and you're someone you can put up with for a month or so.
What kind of scenario can you paint for your reaction when you got it by a phone call, by an email, that you were having these incredible, and also Peter, I want to include Peter because he's a very illustrious actor as well.
Yeah, no, they're all incredible. The whole thing was a pretty surreal experience. As it all was happening, it's still kind of hard to believe, and of course you never really know until you're on set the first day that it is going to happen, so you try to just kind of take it in stride, as best you can.
What was it like working with Frank Langella and Susan Sarandon?
Mostly it was easy. You just sort of, the level of talent that they can command. Especially when you're on a production that has so little time to shoot, for them to be able to show up and nail things in 3 takes. It's an incredible thing to watch. I sort of didn't even do any directing for the first day and a half. I was just so impressed. Really, I don't know how the movie gets done without that. So that's when I say we're lucky. To have that level of talent. I'm glad the movie seems to work and people respond. But when you're on set and you have so little time to make these things into these kind of, because the movie references a lot of genres. It's a buddy movie or a heist movie. You have these moments you really have to deliver, and it really, they're the ones that make that happen. Their depth of experience in films up to this point, and they know what those moments are, and they know what needs to be delivered. They know what you need, and they give it to you, and they can give it to you in 3 takes. It just makes the whole thing work versus fall apart. So
according to the screenplay and what your final development was, were they pretty close?
They're quite close. Well, when you have a robot, it's hard to improvise, so it's pretty much.
The story is futuristic, and it sounds like a really great And it's not very often I see the word dramedy attached to anything. I was really happy to see that.
Okay, that's good. I don't love the word, but I don't know how else to describe it.
Because I like dramedies.
Yeah, okay,
I like
good.
dramedies.
That's good.
So would you be able to share was there any kind of message to this play? Or to this movie?
I don't think there's a message.
No?
I mean, I think that there are definitely a lot of themes that are fun to explore in it that we talk about a lot. I mean, about, what technology is going to mean in the future, how we're going to relate to it, how we'll interact with it. But I mean, we're certainly not trying to say any one thing or the other about it. I mean, hopefully, in the end, it's kind of a buddy movie and a relationship story, and hopefully you take what you will, and people do take very different things from it. So that's, I mean, that anyone would take anything from it that's a plus for us.
So do you already have a future movie that you're going to be working on?
Not yet. I mean, Ford and I are talking about a few ideas, but he's busy on a lot of other things, and I'm reading some scripts, but just finishing this one and getting it out there has been kind of a full-time job.
So how was it at Sundance?
It was overwhelming. I had never been before in any capacity, so it was pretty kind of just bewildering to sort of have been finishing the film a week beforehand and all of a sudden showing it to 1,200 people was quite an experience.
So is that generating some interest, people contacting you for future projects?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's been stuff to read, but like I said, most of the time it's just been spent kind of taking care of this one, and there are tweaks to make after Sundance and getting it out there and the whole schedule and the marketing and the whole thing. So
I just have to commend you. I mean, to be involved in a film, a major motion picture with major stars. I mean, this is just a miraculous endeavor.
It certainly felt that way, yeah.
And I wish you great success. What do you see yourself doing in the next 5-10 years? Directing?
Hopefully making another movie. That would be nice.
And in your love of theater and film, what were some of the people that you would like to aspire to, as far as film directors?
Well, I mean, honestly, I've been talking recently a lot about Gordon Willis, who's just a cinematographer, about how he's one of the best filmmakers I've ever seen. I mean, if you look at his work throughout the different people that he worked for Woody Allen and for Coppola and for Pacula, I mean, you can see his hand in everything that he did, and he's someone I'm really taken by. I mean, the rest are sort of, the same ones everyone says. I mean, I love Woody Allen, I love Kubrick, I love the Coen brothers. There are plenty of directors to admire out there. So.
Yeah. Well, Jake, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And great success to you.